Whenever I'm in the Middle East, there's a kind of a sense of theatre, of a place being rebuilt and being rebuilt in quite a radical way. And I realised that what I was working on, which is a new customer care plan, feeds in something called Plan 2030. And it's a plan by Abu Dhabi to turn itself into a low-carbon city by ripping half of itself down. Now, some people say, well, that's ironic, isn't it? You're using oil to build something up, to knock it down. And I suddenly realised that there's quite a big vision there on the way through, and it interested me that a country can really reshape itself in 20 years. It's quite a small country, and they're doing it by introducing public transport. They haven't had any. So last year they introduced buses. Nobody understood what they're there for, so they made them free for a year. I think I'm the first European I know to have taken one. I caused cultural mayhem taking one in the morning. But in the next 6 years, there'll be buses, water ferries, high-speed metro, trains, and all these things are going to happen quite fast. So I'm sitting there working on this plan for the Department of Transport, and you suddenly realize this is important because transport is going to be very important. It's going to be crucial to this country, and they really want to reshape themselves before two things happen. One, before the car takes over and they merge with Dubai. So they're looking at what's going on in the rest of the world, and they're actively reshaping themselves on the way through. When you're out there as a European, you're working with many different levels and different economics of working types of people. And people are very interested in the fact that you're a European. There's a great sense of where do you come from, what's going on in London, what's going on in England. And I think it's almost like this, which is the other thing I want to talk about. It's people peering in to Europe. You think Europe is a place that people find absolutely fascinating. And we're quite used to it, in a way. So then I was out in what I call quite a conservative country, working on quite a radical, almost theatrical thing. And I came back last month, and I went to see Dream Think Speaks piece in Brighton, which is based on the cherry orchard. And I thought it was absolutely beautiful. And again, it's a piece about destruction. It's a piece about, the cherry orchard is a piece about a cherry orchard being ripped down, possibly being ripped down, being replaced by new villas in order to save the economics of a family. The family don't get this right, and the house is sold off. And when you go to see this piece, you get an incredible sense of time and things lost. And I guess the point I'm trying to make is, I felt that I was seeing something quite radical that was quite conservative. Having been somewhere that was quite conservative, doing something quite radical, I was down watching a rather fantastically radical piece, and I was responding to it in a way that is very Western. We almost understand and accept a certain decline and loss, and we revere it in a way through. And there's an amazing point at the end of this piece, which I can only give you a hint of by showing you these two images, where you hit this fantastic widescreen image of two Russian landowners taking tea in the country. And it's like watching time. So you hit Proust, you hit other things, and they gradually walk out of frame. And you think, my gosh, isn't that a shame it's all gone? But my point is this: are we in a way seduced into a lack of energy? Are we seeing the end of something within our own time zone? If what we're seeing there and looking back on, when we see this piece is, we're looking back at the 19th century, which is gone. Are we now in Europe at this point, are we at the end of something? And is the energy moving across to somewhere else? I'm not sure, I'm probably not explaining it particularly well, but there's something about working abroad and coming back here that galvanizes me and makes me think that we shouldn't be too attuned to looking backwards. We should be finding ways of moving forwards and learning from other places. And I use the Middle East as an example because people have some quite negative senses of Abu Dhabi. But what I get from there and working there in Dubai is a great sense of energy, a great sense of reshaping. There are many problems, but I think we can learn. And that's been my, if anything's sort of blown my mind this year, that it's been trying to put all these things together. So for me, I absolutely love this production, but I didn't think it was radical. I thought it was quite conservative. And I think that's one of the reasons it's done well here. And I just want to put that out as a thought. Some of you will have seen it. And if you ever go out to the Middle East, I'd urge you to look at it as a kind of theatrical experiment. I used to call Dubai a Thunderbird's place with traffic jams, because it used to be one road and no public transport. So that doesn't really probably quite make sense, but that's my kind of thought and piece.